Okay, peeps. Today's title is it's a bit confusing, but I'm here to talk about the first international corporate company and the first European to reach the Cape of Good Hope. The Cape of Good Hope is a region. It's actually called Cape Town now. It's in the Western Cape. It's at the tip of the Western Cape, and I'm about to tell you the first person to get there. The earliest unknown remnants of the region were found in Pierre Cave and Fishhook, and date between 15,000 and 12,000 years ago. Little is known of the history of the region's first residents, right? Since there's no written history from the area before, it was first mentioned by an explorer, a Portuguese explorer called Bartolomeu Dias. So Bartolomeu Dias was the first European to reach the Cape of Good Hope, and it was in the year 1488, right? And the area was named at that time Cape of Storms. It was later renamed by John II of Portugal as Cape of Good Hope because the great optimism the great optimism by the opening of the sea route to India and the West. Vasco da Gama recorded a sighting of the Cape of Good Hope in 1497. Remember, Jan van Reibeck came here in 1652, okay? And this is in 1488 and 1497. Here comes the history of Jan van Reibeck. In the late 16th century, Portuguese, French, Danish, Dutch, and English, but mainly Portuguese ships, regularly stopped over in Table Bay en route to the Indies. They traded tobacco, copper, and iron with the Khoi in exchange for fresh meat, right? And in 1652, just like I said, Jan van Reibeck and other employees of the Dutch East Indies Company, in Afrikaans is Verenigde Oostische Compagnie, were sent to Cape to establish a way station for ships traveling to Dutch Indies, right? Okay. The settlement grew slowly during this period, and it was hard to find adequate labor. So, what I just said now was that Jan van Reibeck was not really a missionary. Jan van Reibeck worked for a company in short terms, the VOC, Verenigde Oostische Compagnie, and he was sent here along with other nationalities. So the VOB, let me explain the VOB, which is the first corporate company in the world. The VOB was founded by a government-directed amalgamation of several Dutch trading companies, right? In the early 17th century, it was originally established on the 20th March 1602 as a chartered company to trade with India and Indianized Southeast Asian countries when the Dutch government, granted it 21-year monopoly on the Dutch spice trade. Okay, so the VOC was an early multinational transnational corporation in its modern sense. So the VOC was the first corporate company in the world, and it sent people here to South Africa in 1652, which is 50 years after its actual establishment. The company is often labeled a trading company, right? Or sometimes a shipping company. However, the VOC was in fact a proto conglomerate company, diversing into multiple multiple commercial and industrial activities such as international trade. So the Dutchess East Indian Company was the first company to be in international trades, right? International trades, both production and trade of the Indian spices, right, and South African wines. The company was a transcontinental. Transcontinental means different continents such as Africa, India, etc. Just as it is transcontinental employer, right, and an early pioneer of outward foreign direct investment. So this was the first company to have foreign investments. This is the root of capitalism. The highest peak of capitalism was in the 1800s, but the first capitalist company was the VOB. Okay. The company's investment project helped raise the commercial and industrial potential of many underdeveloped or undeveloped regions of the world in the modern period, which is the 1600s. In the early 1600s, by widely issuing bonds and shares of stock to the general public. So the VOC was the first company to sell shares. And that's where the stock market comes from. The VOC became the world's first formally listed company. In other words, it was the first corporation to ever listed on an official stock. So in primary school, I remember they told me that Jan van Reibeck was the first guy here. Okay, maybe we should rewrite that history and know that Mr. Bartolomeu Dias was led by a guy called Henry the Navigator in 1488. Bartolomeu Dias established a route from Mozambique to the Cape. Those were the same trading routes that the Dutchess Indies Company used at a later stage, which is about 100 and something years prior, right? Oh, so that's all for today. It's not really a video, but hope you got to listen well. That Jan van Reibeck was not the first European to come here. Wait, before I go, let's talk about the settlers. The settlers are those same people who were hired by the corporate company to work, such as the French, the Dutch, the Danish, and other European nationalities, and they were living in South Africa, and they wanted to create a language for themselves since they were a community, right? So that language that they created was Afrikaans, which means African. They are establishing themselves as African. That is the main point of the settlers who came here. The settlers went upward since the English people came, but I'll tell you that at a later stage. Anyway, thanks for listening, and always remember, Jan van Reibeck was not the first European to come here. Okay? Look into Bartolomeu Dias, look into Portugal. They were the first ones to explore the world. in Europe. Thank you.